everyone. Welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And it's part 2 of the selfish giant. Well, the formerly selfish giant.
That's true.
Right? Yesterday's story, he was being very selfish. He wasn't sharing his beautiful garden with some kids, but nature noticed. And winter stayed in his garden long after spring should have come. And it was only when the children came back to the garden, the giant let them play, that spring returned, and he learned that being selfish is not a good thing to be. Now I know you, being a mom, are probably teaching some basic life skills and life lessons to your kids. And I think with kids, I remember in kindergarten, he won't let me play with the toy, and they're using the swings all the time. I want to go. Kids have to learn this at a young age, and if they don't, fights and arguments happen. So how do you teach kids to be, kind and generous and not selfish?
Well, I have to say it is very tough. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Interesting.
Because I have 2 kids and one is just 11 months and the other one is about 3.
Okay.
And so they're just at the age where the younger one wants to just grab things or hold things, but the older one thinks that anything the younger one has should be his. And so he could have an entire pile of toys in front of him.
Right.
But if
the toys he needs.
Yep. But if she picks up anything,
one toy,
then he's like, I want that.
That's the most important toy now.
And so obviously it's part of this. I won't say that they're selfish when they're that young because they don't know. You just have to kind of teach them it's her turn for a little bit and then it can be your turn and we can pass and share and all that kind of stuff. But if they don't learn those lessons as young kids, then they could grow up to be very selfish. So it's tough.
Yeah.
Every day I'm trying to get it into his brain. You don't have to have everything that she's holding.
It's true because you have to think about it a little bit, right? I want this, I can take it, I'm bigger than her, what's to stop me? Well, it's also about making sure people are happy and feelings don't get hurt and relationships don't get broken. And it's hard for little kids to figure that, I want that. That's a very simple thing. So hopefully the selfish giant learned all of those good lessons. Let's check out our story and we'll find out what's going on today. In one corner of the garden, however, winter still remained. There, a little boy was crying because he couldn't reach the branches of the tree. The boy's tears melted the giant's heart, so he picked the boy up and placed him in the tree. The giant then knocked down the walls to allow the children to play in his garden at any time of day. Except for the little boy, all of the children came daily. The little boy's absence saddened the giant a great deal.
Okay, so we are into part 2, the selfish giant part 2. So again, we did a little bit of a recap in the intro. We have this giant, he had a garden. The garden turned to winter because he chased the kids away. Kids came back. He said, yay, I can't believe I was so selfish. And now you're all caught up. Spring is back.
There you go. So this is the giant formerly known as selfish. I guess now he's the generous giant or the kind giant. So I think he's learned his lesson, but things are still not quite perfect in his beautiful garden. Remember, the kids are back and the spring seems to have returned. But then we read in the first sentence today, in one corner of the garden, however, winter still remained. Okay, so however or but show us here's something that's very different or the opposite of what came before. So spring is back to the garden. However, not everywhere. There is one little corner, one little section of the garden right by the edges where winter still remained, where it was still icy and cold and the flowers hadn't come back and things like that. What was happening in that little corner? There, a little boy was crying because he couldn't reach the branches of the tree. Oh, okay, maybe his kite got stuck in the tree or he wants to climb the tree or something. He can't reach the branches of the tree. He's a very small little boy. And the boy's tears melted the giant's heart. Aww. So he picked the boy up and placed him in the tree. Being a giant, it was easy for him to reach down probably with 2 fingers, pick up this little kid by the back of his shirt and put him in the tree. And this is after he became very kind and warm and possibly even loving as his generous spirit returned and his heart melted. Not literally.
Yes. Yes. So that is a good thing to point out because the real definition or the most common definition of the word melt is to turn into liquid because you've added heat. So for example, if you have ice and it warms up, it turns back into liquid water. But if we talk about this as far as a person or their heart melting, that means to be kind of overcome with feelings of love or warmth. You see something, it's just like, oh, it's so sweet or so sad or whatever that makes you feel like your heart melts. You feel a lot of love for that thing. So in this case, he sees the boy crying and he goes, oh, I feel so sad for this boy. I have to help him. And so that is the other definition of melt that you might not hear as often, but is still fairly common. So it's good to know. So no, his heart didn't turn into liquid, but he did feel a lot of emotion and love for this little boy. And our example sentence uses the first definition and it says, the ice cream started to melt in the hot car. So yes, if you put your ice cream in a hot car, or if you just buy ice cream in Taiwan in the summer, it melts super quick. Yes, you have to eat it really fast.
True. That's true.
Yes, and so now the giant feels very like, I must help this boy. He puts him into the tree and he thinks everything is going to be great. And if we keep reading, it says, the giant then knocked down the walls to allow the children to play in his garden at any time of day. Wow. So now they can come and go as they please. There's no fence, there's no wall, everything is great.
There you go. The giant has really become a very generous giant. It says, except for the little boy, all of the children came daily. All right, so the little kids were very happy to accept the giant's kindness. And he said, you know, the wall is gone, kids, you can come back, play anytime you want. And the children probably jumped for joy and were very happy and, you know, said nice things because this is a really wonderful gift. The little boy's absence saddened the giant a great deal. Oh, so I guess all the kids came back except that little boy. And of course, the giant having that experience with the boy of seeing him crying and putting him in the tree and having his heart melt. This is something the giant noticed, that the little boy wasn't there. He noticed his absence. And absence, this is a noun. We could also use the adjective absent, A-B-S-E-N-T, but absence or absent is not being there. Not being there when you should be, when you're expected to be there, when you normally are there. If you're going to be absent or away from school, you probably have to call or send a message to your teacher and say, oh, I'm sick, I have to go to the dentist, I have to go on a holiday or something with my family. And your absence, your not being there, is something the teacher will have to be told about before. Otherwise, they'll think you're skipping school or you're missing or some trouble happened, because your absence, your not being there, was something that definitely the teacher saw. His absence, we have this example, his absence from the meeting was noticed. He's the senior vice president. He's supposed to make a speech, but Mayo, he wasn't there. All right, we're going to take a break, so you'll have to get over our absence for a few seconds, but we'll be back. Don't worry, we'll be back, we promise.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。老师们刚刚有做一个前情提要，简单的描述第一天课文读到的故事内容。那我们补充一下 recap 这个字 ，R-E-C-A-P。recap 当名词可以表达重述要点、前情提要、对剧情的概述。好，那我们就接着继续来读故事了。虽然春天已经来到巨人的花园里，可是，在花园的一个角落，冬天仍然存在。在那里啊，有一个小男孩因为够不到树枝而在哭泣。那男孩的泪水融化了巨人的心，所以他把男孩抱起来放在树上。后来啊，巨人还把他的围墙都拆掉，让孩子们可以随时在他的花园里面玩。所有的孩子每天都有来哦，就除了那个小男孩之外，那这让巨人很难过。我们来看单字 melt。 melt 它可以表达融化，使融化。那课文里面的用法，它并不是字面上的意思，心不会真的融化掉，而是用来描述一个强烈切身的感受。老师刚刚就用到 literally 这个副词，就表示照字面的，它是拼作 literally literally。好，下一个单字 absence， 它表示缺席，是名词。那它的形容词是 absent， 就可以形容缺席的。例句有写到说，有人注意到他会议缺席。Mike 老师说，也许这个人是准备要发表言论的一个 senior vice president， 那这个职位就是资深副总裁。接回到课文中。
Many years later, the boy appeared in the garden once again. His tiny hands and feet were wounded. The wounds looked like they were made by nails. The giant asked the boy who harmed him so that he could kill them, but the boy replied that they were wounds of love. You let me play once in your garden, the boy said. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise. That afternoon, the children saw the giant lying next to the tree. His lifeless body was covered with beautiful white flowers. All right, so let's go back to the garden with the giant. Everything seems to be pretty good in the giant's garden. The flowers are blooming because spring's come back. The wall is gone. The kids are swinging from the trees and playing in the garden and all that kind of stuff that we like to see. And the giant is happy to see now too, because he's now very generous and not selfish. But there is one little problem. Remember the little boy that the giant saw crying in the garden? All of the other kids have come back, but that little boy has not. And the giant has noticed this, and the giant has missed the boy, and he's probably kind of wondering, you know, well, what happened to that kid, that little kid I had that lovely moment with?
Yeah, he's probably a little bit worried too. I mean, the boy just disappeared for many, many years, and so he's just a little confused. But as we read, it says, many years later, the boy appeared in the garden once again.
Many years later?
Many years. So,
wow.
The giant went a long time without maybe asking the other kids or going out to check.
Maybe they just didn't know. You know.
That's true. Maybe nobody knew. Yes, and so if we continue reading, it says, his tiny hands and feet were wounded.
What?
The wounds looked like they were made by nails.
What?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with this boy. The giant, the giant loves this boy, and so he sees that this boy looks like he's wounded by nails on his hands and feet, and the giant asked the boy who harmed him so that he could kill them. So the giant is very mad. He said, you look like you got hurt.
Right.
I want to protect you. I'm so mad that somebody would do this to you, so tell me who it was, and I'm going to go get them. So that's what he says.
Okay, well, the giant clearly wants to protect this boy. He loves him very much and wants to make sure that nothing bad happens to him. But if it does, the person who harmed his little friend is in deep trouble because a giant's coming to squish you. And that would definitely harm you if a giant stepped on your head. Because to harm is to hurt, to damage, to do something bad to. It could be physical harm, and we can also use as noun. If you harm someone, you hurt them, you knock them down, you get in an accident with them and they get injured in some kind of way. We can also talk about emotional harm. If you tease people, if you bully them, if you call them names, that can cause harm. Here's something that will definitely cause harm. Chemicals. The chemicals in the cleaning solution can harm your skin. So be careful. Notice we're not saying the chemicals will kill you, but they will hurt you, they will damage you, they will burn your skin, and that's definitely going to harm you in some way. Back to the story. So what happened to this boy? He's got weird injuries or weird things, bloody marks on his hands and his feet caused by nails. Who else had nails put through their hands and feet? Who was that person? I think they're from the Bible.
Yes.
But anyways, we'll go on. It says, but the boy replied that they were wounds of love. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll go on. It says, you let me play once in your garden. the boy said, remembering that time in the past when the giant was very kind and generous. Today, the boy continued, today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise. And notice there, it's a capital P on the word paradise, a capital P.
Yes, which means that the way that it's being used in this story is probably this slightly different definition than the actual word.
Right.
So this word has two main meanings. We have paradise, the noun, with the lowercase p, that is just any place that is wonderful. Perfect, amazing, lovely, beautiful.
I want to die here.
Yes,
it's so great.
It's like perfect for you. You just think this is great, because a lot of people will think like beaches and warm places are paradise for them. Some people might, paradise for them might be a mountain cabin that's nice and cozy by the fire. So paradise could look different for different people.
Sitting at your desk with all your favorite computer games and a big bowl of popcorn ready to game your way through the weekend. That could be your paradise.
Yes, but in our story we have the capital letter P. And so the other meaning of paradise could mean things like heaven. So a place that you would go to after you've passed away, that is like the eternal, wonderful place. Again, for most religions, it's probably heaven, but there could be different types of paradise for different religions.
True.
So we look at our example sentence, and that is the first definition of paradise, and it says, Hawaii is a paradise for beach lovers. So if you love the beach, then Hawaii could be your paradise.
It's a paradise for surfers as well. It's just a wonderful place for them to go. But let's continue reading.
Yes, and so then, if we continue on, it says, that afternoon, the children saw the giant laying next to the tree. His lifeless body was covered with beautiful white flowers. So, yes.
He's dead.
Yes, he has passed away.
Dang.
Again, this was many, 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 many years later that he saw the boy come back. So he did get to live a happy, full life. And now he's not selfish anymore. The boy says he gets to go to paradise. So
I feel bad for those kids.
Yeah, but they can still go to the garden.
Well, they can. I'm just thinking they're going to have to dig a really big hole.
Oh, yes.
For that giant. It's going to be really a lot of work.
It is going to be a lot of work.
Right. Well, let's get back to our article. What do you think? Do you think it's important to share with others? Why or why not? We can turn it over to Sam, and you can give us the speech that you gave your son about sharing with his sister.
Yeah, well, the faster version is usually like, if you don't share, then you're not going to have any friends.
If you don't share, you're not going to have friends. You'll hurt people's feelings. And then when you want something from them, you're not going to get it.
Yes.
Because you were selfish, like the giant, before he became kind. So be like the later giant, not the earlier giant, and the world will be a better place. I think that's a good rule. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Go out there, be kind to everyone in the world, even the giants. And we'll see you back here sometime soon. Until then, bye.
多年后，那个小男孩再次出现在巨人的花园里。那他的小手和小脚受伤了，伤口看起来像是钉子造成的。巨人就问男孩到底是谁伤害他的，这样他就可以去杀了他们。可是男孩却回答说这是爱的伤痕。男孩说啊，你让我在你的花园里玩了一次，那今天你要跟我一起去我的花园，那就是天堂。哇，故事听到这里，同学们有没有联想到小男孩的身份呢？他的这个爱的伤痕是不是跟耶稣被钉上十字架时的伤口相似呢？那他还有邀请巨人前往天堂，所以应该猜得到了吧？故事最后就写到说，那天下午，孩子们看到巨人躺在树旁边，他那一具已经失去生命的身体有覆满了美丽的白花。我们来看单字 harm。harm 当动词可以表达危害、伤害或破坏，那么当名词可以指伤害、危害或损害。Mike 老师讲解时啊，他提到 bully 这个字 ，B-U-L-L-Y，bully 当动词表示霸凌，当名词就表示霸凌者。 还有提到 call somebody names， 这是表达说谩骂、辱骂某人，那表示说用轻蔑啊或是有攻击性的语气来对某人说话，不过这常用来描述小孩子互骂的行为。好，下一个单字 paradise，paradise 就是天堂或是乐园。Sam 老师在讲解时，他有用到 cozy 这个字 ，C-O-Z-Y，cozy 可以形容是舒适的、惬意的或是轻松愉快的。老师还有用到 eternal，E-T-E-R-N-A-L，eternal 是形容永恒的、不朽的。好，这边3个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 look like 点点点可以表达看起来像是什么什么。那么 look 在这边是当连缀动词，表示看起来。like 后面你可以接名词或是接子句，例如 Your mom looks like your sister， 你妈妈看起来像你姐姐。这时候不知道该为妈妈高兴还是为自己难过，应该先为妈妈开心吧。好，这个例句是 What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost。哇，发生什么事了？你看起来像见到鬼一样，就是一副很震惊害怕的这种描述哦。好，再来看第二个重点是 so that 加上主词加动词，这是表达以便能或是为了怎么样怎么样。so that 是引导表示目的的副词子句，那么 that 可以省略。如果我们这个主词跟主要子句的主词相同时，那其实可以把它改写成 so as to 加上原形动词，或是 in order to 加原形动词。例如 Emma turned off the TV so that she could concentrate， 或是 so she could concentrate。那也可以把它改写成Emma turned off the TV so as to concentrate or in order to concentrate， 很多写法。Emma 关掉电视以便能专注。好，第三个重点是 let 加受词加原形动词，这是表达让、允许什么什么做某事。注意 let 三态同形，它当实义动词的时候是表达让、允许，然后后面的受词之后是要接原形动词哦。例如Lila's parents don't let her go out at night. Lila 的爸妈不允许她晚上出门。好，以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
In one corner of the garden, however, winter still remained. There, a little boy was crying because he couldn't reach the branches of the tree. The boy's tears melted the giant's heart. So he picked the boy up and placed him in the tree. The giant then knocked down the walls to allow the children to play in his garden at any time of day. Except for the little boy, all of the children came daily. The little boy's absence saddened the giant a great deal. Many years later, the boy appeared in the garden once again. His tiny hands and feet were wounded. The wounds looked like they were made by nails. The giant asked the boy who harmed him so that he could kill them, but the boy replied that they were wounds of love. You let me play once in your garden, the boy said. Today you shall come with me to my garden, which is paradise. That afternoon, the children saw the giant lying next to the tree. His lifeless body was covered with beautiful white flowers.
Wow, a garden on the highway. That is really interesting. So if you go to the Tianwei Highway Garden, you can not only see beautiful flowers, but if you go at night, you can kind of see a light show as well. It's all lit up there. It looks really beautiful. So I want to get to learn more about this garden, so why don't you join me?
Chenghua's Tianwei Highway Garden runs along a 3.6-kilometer section of Taiwan's Provincial Highway 1, which stretches from the towns of Yunjing to Tianwei. The garden is known for its beautiful Tianwei flowers, which vary from season to season. The plants get plenty of sunlight during the summer season, but they lack sunlight during the winter season. To solve this problem and control plant development, the garden uses artificial lights. These stay on overnight and create an amazing light display. The lights have become an attraction in themselves. There are also over 140 businesses set up along the 3.6-kilometer garden plot. They all sell different plants and services, including cut flowers, bonsai, gardening materials, and even food and drinks. Additionally, the garden has classrooms where visitors can enjoy flower-related DIY activities. Meanwhile, those who like to exercise can ride a bicycle around the park while admiring all the different colors and smells. Chenghua's Tianwei Flower Garden is a must-see attraction for anyone who appreciates the natural beauty of plant life.
So a 3.6 kilometer garden. That is something that's very impressive, especially to somebody who is a bit of a green thumb myself. I know I definitely want to go and visit and take a look at all the plants and flowers. And not only that, there's lots of activities and even food, so you could stay all day and night. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson.